All right, so John, we went through and we looked at your hip mobility into a high step, and that high step right in front of you and out to the side. We also want to look at your ability of your hip to rotate outwards when you climb. And the more you can rotate outwards, the less stress it has on your knee, as well as the more stability you have in your leg to prevent injuries in your upper body.
Okay.
So let's test side to side and see if there's any differences.
Okay.
So this is called a modified Faber test. And with this test, I'm just going to cross your leg over your thigh, so it's right above your knee. I'm going to take my hand and stabilize your pelvis. And then I'm going to press your knee down to the ground until I feel a stop. So there's a stop right there on your right side. I'm then going to take a tape measure, and I'm going to measure that to see how much distance and how far away the knee is from the ground.
Cool.
So go ahead and stabilize this hip. Don't let it rotate or move.
Okay.
I'm going to come around this other side just to get a nice measurement. Keep that right there. I'm going to press. I'll take the tape measure, and we can come in. I come from the outside of your knee right down, and we can see here that we are right at 3 inches from the ground.
Okay.
Let's try the other side. So check your other leg. You can relax your arms. I'll stabilize first. I'm getting a feel. Oof, that seems a little different than the other side.
This would be my affected knee from a couple years ago. Heel hook injury. So
you had a heel hook injury. What position were you in?
I was actually in a very similar position to this, like rocking over a really high hand-foot match heel hook move, and I was rocking my way over onto the heel, and in that rotation, there was a loud kind of like popping sound, discomfort in my knee. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the outside of your knee.
On the outside, yep.
So potentially, maybe this hip was stiffer to start, and it was hard to get in that position, or after the injury, it stiffened up. We're not sure.
Yeah.
But let's get a number. Let's see if there's a difference side to side. So go ahead and stabilize your hip there on that side. And I'm going to press down. You can see that apparent difference. And I'm going to take the tape measure, come in, and we're at 7.5 inches from the ground.
Oh, wow.
So
it's a huge difference.
So this is going to be a good exercise to do for you to mobilize and increase the mobility of that hip into that toe out, rotated hip position.
Great.
One more thing. If you want to make this climbing specific, when we climb, how often are our hands down at our stomach level?
Not very often.
Not that often, unless maybe you're doing an undercling.
Standing on a ledge.
Yeah, standing on a ledge, doing an undercling, relaxing, when your friends are bouldering or climbing. But when we're climbing, our hands are above our shoulders typically. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a hand over head position. And then what you notice when that happens, the ribs start to flare up and we arch a little bit through our back. And when we do that and we climb, what do you think that we lose? Imagine you're out here and now you've arched your back. What stability did we lose?
I'm not really sure, I suppose. The core?
The core, right? So we lose the ability of our core to lock in and maintain body tension.
Sure.
So if we're going to tie in our hip mobility with our core, with a climbing specific position, what we can do is go back into that Faber assessment. Hands go overhead. Now we lock down and lower our rib cage by engaging our core. You keep this side pressed into the ground, that left side, and then now I can go through that assessment of your hip again. There you go. And you just added in that core stability. And so this is an assessment, but it can also be an exercise. Lying in this position, letting your hip open up, and then getting that stretch.
Yeah, definitely feels more involved this way.
Definitely more involved.
Yeah.
All right, so those are ways that we can assess that hip rotation outwards in that kind of high step position. So now let's go through an exact exercise to train this. We just did the assessment on the ground to see how much flexibility you have in your hips rotating outwards. So let's train it now. So let's go through an exercise to improve your hip mobility.
Cool.
So this one I call the Spider-Man. You're gonna rotate your feet outwards slightly. You're gonna squat down into a deep squat. You're gonna take your elbows and put them on the insides of your knee. Now, oftentimes when people are here, they'll flex through their spine. So I want you to make sure you don't do that. You keep extended trunk, chest up nice and high. pressing both of those knees back, especially that left side. Once you're in that position, you'll notice that on that left side, your toe comes off the ground.
Yeah, quite a bit.
What happens if that happens on the rock wall?
Yeah, slip off.
Slip up.
Yeah.
You can't send your project.
Yeah.
So push that great toe into the ground as you drive that left hip for you, but both hips outwards, and then go into that Spider-Man circles, clockwise, counterclockwise. Keep on going, and your thigh muscles should be burning a little bit.
Yeah, a lot.
Your hips should be mobilizing. And then pause right in the center. Stay tall through your chest. Press those knees out. Bring your arms overhead like you're climbing. Hold that position. Here's your bonus. Go on your tiptoes.
Yeah.
Oh, go for it. And back down. Okay. All right, nice job. So that's
burning.
Burning through the legs. Really nice way to mobilize the hip, loosen you up, get you ready for climbing. So we assess the flexibility of your hip through that test on the ground. Now we're going to improve the flexibility passively. And so in this exercise, you're going to be in a hands and knees position. So you can go ahead and put your hands underneath your shoulder, your knees underneath your hips. Dig your toes into the ground, almost like they were on footholds when you're climbing.
Right.
And then you're going to rock your bottom back towards your heels. And then come back. Now, with this exercise, oftentimes there'll be a compensation. Climbers, if they have stiff hips, they'll rock back and their pelvis will start to rotate and their spine will flex. Almost demonstrate that, just like that. That's what you would see.
Almost like this.
Exactly, and they'd even round through their mid-spine as well. So you actually want to not do that, because if you did that on the rock wall, where's your center of mass go?
Yeah, it's gonna fall out.
That falls away from the wall.
Yeah.
Slide off the rock wall. Or you overuse your arm muscles. And so you want to be able to arch your back. So go ahead, keep that arch, and then dig your toes into the ground, and then rock back while maintaining that arch in your back. Once you lose the arch, the exercise is over, and then you come back.
Okay.
Excellent. Now a bonus, if you want to make it a bit more climbing specific, rock all the way back. Hold that position, keep that arch. Lift your right arm up as if you're going to grab a rock hold. Bring it back down. You can lift your left one up as well. And then back down. You can come to starting position.
Okay.
We did some mobility assessments and treatments. We started with the modified Grant foot raise. You brought that hip up as high as possible into a high step. Do you remember which one was stiffer?
I believe it was the right side, actually.
Yeah, the right side. So a little bit more challenging that right side up into that high step.
Yeah. I think it just shows that like I could improve on hip mobility and flexion, stretching and stuff, and to get those higher steps. And
yeah, we can always work on those things.
Yeah,
and
totally.
then we looked at this modified Faber test. We were on the ground and I rotated your leg out to the side. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and it seemed like my left knee actually had a harder deal to open up wider, and I think that maybe relates to an injury I had previously on that left leg, but
yeah, so harder to kind of open it up towards the ground. And we can think about all the different climbing movements this relates to. Maybe like when you're using the inside edge of your foot, maybe you're perching. Yeah. And so these are some great ways to work on your exercises. So what's your big take home for your hips?
Yeah, pretty much that they do seem fairly open, but I could work on a few things to like open them up even more so that I could have more mobility while doing high steps or other climbing maneuvers that I'm used to. So
yeah, I think we all can.
Yeah, we all can for sure. Right on.
Good
yeah,
job.
cool.